Thanks for tuning in to Red Bandy Outdoors. I'm Scott, fish biologist turned YouTuber, living the dream, being the star of my own fishing show on TV. This week we're going to be talking about hair jigs, particularly the OG Fish Finder Jig, the one that's on my logo. The tan tail marabou body on this cool Northland tackle deep V jig head. This one's the 1/8, but I use the 1/16 as well. Let's get started. You can see if you watch the materials prep video, I pinched down the keeper barb there. For any beginners that are tuning in, take the thread, lay it over the hook, wrap over it. Now you've locked it down. Move down the hook. Maybe go back over it a little bit if you want to make sure it just doesn't spin out on you or something. Give 2 of those. You're good. Basically make a small little knot of it. You don't really need to even do that. Cut your tag end. Wrap down to the barb right here on the hook, just in line with the barb. So you're just like that at the barb. You can see my thread right there. Let's put a little bit of a thread base down because we're going to lay some material. It's a little bit easier to grab onto it that way. All right, let's get our wire. The first material we talked about, medium wire. Medium wire here, I'm just using up my wine colored medium wire. Tie that in. Just tie that in real quickly. This video I'm going to move a little faster than the first one I put out just to show you guys it doesn't take 20 minutes to tie one, but we will stop and talk about things like, hey, this is how much of these I tie. This is an empty card of diamond braid that I just finished off. I got one piece and I think one just fell on the floor. So I got 2 of these, 2 6-inchers diamond braids out. So you do go through this stuff. So don't be afraid to buy 2 cards of it when you buy some of this stuff, right? So you put that in there just the same, wrap over it, pretty simple. I know some of you might have to practice this stuff and go a little slower, but I just want to show you how easy it is to go a little quicker. There we are with that. We have the diamond braid. Now we're going to wrap that over. Kind of keep it right in line with the barb there. Get one good wrap around the hook, then move forward, move your thread on up past the keeper barb that you've bent down, and then just keep wrapping over the hook. I might move you guys in a little closer so you can see. Hopefully that works. I know this head looks like it's off, but it's so V-shaped that it looks like the head is off. It's not. It's level. Everything's pretty level. The camera's pretty level. So that just goes to show you this different design on these Northland tackle deep V heads that help keep it tracking straight in the water. And I think that's real important if you were to put a soft plastic on this. Less important with the hair, but it definitely drops fast, has a killer eye, a killer paint job, and definitely tracks very straight if you just want to kind of Euro nymph it, which is one of my techniques that you can come back and watch on my channel that I do with these jigs. So I keep the jig in the strike zone the whole time. So now we're moving on to the tail, and we have this is the normal 1/8 rabbit strip. This one's pretty thick, so the tail's a little stiffer, you'll notice on this one. I think that's fine, but this is the ginger barred. We still have our wire on there. I'm going to measure this out. We're going to grab the leather underneath. We have a little bit of the hair hanging over, so there to the end of the hook, to the tip of the jig head. And then boom, we're going to do that for the tail. Come back to the head. We're going to give it just a smidge longer. And then we're going to peel in there. All right, let me move this over a little bit so you guys can see better. There we go. Sorry about that shoddy camera work. We'll just go down like that, wet our hands, boom, in there. We got a nice place to land, a nice thread wrap. We're looking good right on the center. One thread wrap right on the center of the hook. We'll put another one in there without messing anything up. Get that nice and wet. Pull it back so we can see what we're doing. Boom, another one. Then we'll come in front. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Probably feeling pretty good about it at that point. Come back in here. 1 more in front. Pull it up real tight. Get in there, snip it out, and then we'll just kind of zip that down. You know, that's pretty thick, bulky material, so we want to push it down in there so we can just kind of preserve that nice round head. Okay. No need to go crazy. So now it's on there like that. You could probably just fish it like that and cut off the wire, but we're not gonna. We're gonna come in here like this. We're gonna line it up. We're gonna pull that mohawk up so we can see what's going on. And then we're going to put our first wrap of the wire in there, right? So we're going to come back right to the edge just behind the diamond braid where the wire is. We're going to come straight up over. I call it diamond braid because that's what it's been called. Barlow's tackle and a lot of places where you're going to look for this stuff, they call it sparkle braid. So remember that. Copper sparkle braid is what I like to use. You can use whatever you want, but it's a great material that's rugged and it doesn't really add much bulk to it, but adds the right kind of color and flash that you want. Nice accent in there. And so now we're just kind of, as you can see, just peeling the mohawk back and working our way up, making that kind of candy cane stripe, locking this down so it is tough, right? We got enough on this piece of wire left, just a little bit of tag to do one more wrap. You know, and if you need to wet your fingers like that just to do that, that's the way it's done. That's the way the pros do it. So do it like that. Come back through. Get your wire in there, wrap it around. You know, you can use your hackle pliers if it's really short and just pull it a little tighter. Like that, get it into position. You know, that's a real short end, but you got it tight, you know, now lock it down. Perfect, in front and in back. You know, this one is so small, you might have to just cut it off with the back inside part of our scissors here. Boom, so we don't hurt our scissors. No helicoptering on that one. And then we just get it pushed in there. Nice little stubby end. And there we go. You know, it's sitting on there nice and straight. Boom. So now those of us that have the rotary vise, we just go like this. The rest of you are going to have to, you know, if you're learning, just pop it out. We'll do it like this. Okay. Boom. I lock my rotary vise. Now I have it upside down. I'm going to put the gills, bleeding, injury, trigger, strike trigger in there. Boom. Just like that. Kind of measure it out to the hook. You know, we're using the lower quality feathers of the bunch first out of this pack, so we can use everything. So this one's still pretty good though. It's got a nice red fluff to it. You just kind of clean them up and make them look good. Give one wrap, pull it back. So we're just about to the hook point of the hook there. Make sure it's nice and straight on there. And then we'll go over with another wrap, another wrap. We'll come in front with 2 wraps. We'll come back over with a wrap, wrap. Boom, boom, looking good. We're going to get in there nice and tight. Cut that off. Okay, looking good. Just like that. Clean that up. So now those folks that don't have the rotary, you just flip it back over. Nice and easy, no big deal. There we are. Hopefully everyone's perfect, good, tracking along. You know, you come back and watch this. If the tail is a little long, you just clip a little off in the field. I do it all the time. I have the Dr. Slick clamps with the little bit of a scissors in there, so you can just trim off you just trim it off just the tiniest bit, you know, because you're just missing the length by just a tiny bit, or it's a little longer. But trust me, we'll go over why this is so good. I'll make a video that goes over every little detail, just kind of quick 5-minute one that just shows you why that's okay to have a long tail on the hair jigs as opposed to rubber. But stick with me. We're right here. We've got a few more steps. We're going to do the OG, kind of an olive. Remember, we've prepared these by cleaning off the stem and all that. I've showed that in the other video. This is ready to go. These ones I actually had to brush out with my toothbrush on the bench. Just brush them out. Make sure they're nice and Nice and juicy right there. You know, those are the things that are the ultra, make this the ultra finesse, like I say. So then you just get in there, find that home where you're going to tie back, you know, 2/3 of this feather, somewhere right in there. We're going to lay that in there and get our hand a little just wet there, just a tiny bit. And then we'll just lay the thread right on top, bring that right up to the edge of the jig and work that back and forth, get a nice bind in there. We're going to cut that off and get rid of that. Okay, so now we're just going to move our thread up to the front, so getting it tangled in there. Get our thread right up to the front. So now we'll take our hackle pliers and we'll grab the base that we cleaned off on that, and we'll get it nice and lined up so we can just wrap over it. Now, if you want to peel off this underside in here, you can. I just think that we can get it done and keep those on there and do a good job. So we'll just watch them lay down so we're not laying them over each other. We'll pull them out there. And this is really our first wrap right here. So there it goes. We'll pull a few out. You know, and if they're sticking straight up, that's good, or laying back, then you just kind of preen them back and put a roll right in front. Make sure there's none sticking out. If you see anything, we can pick them out one by one with the bodkin. And then boom, come over that there. You know, when you brush it out, there's not a big mat of them or anything. And so that's more than enough right there. No need to wrap any further. You know, less is more in this business for sure. And then just make sure you have a clean wrap on the stem. Don't pull too hard to pull it out because you got the job done. Come around, lock it with 2 wraps in front. Okay. And then 2 wraps, or 2 wraps behind it, 2 wraps in front of it. There we go. Okay, now so it's pretty locked. Come in with our bodkin. This guy right here. You can see a few that just might need to get picked out a little bit. No, they look pretty good. All right, perfect. So now we're just gonna lock it down right there real good. And then we're gonna cut that stem. When you cut the stem, it should just pull out the few that were kind of buried in there. You can see these were the ones that were wrapped underneath stuff. So now you can pick out any other ones that are kind of caught, if there was any. You know, and work in there with the bodkin, get in there and just kind of see if there's any loose ones or any that you don't want that shouldn't cut ends or whatever that look funky. Just do a quick walkthrough. Now you're going to pull them back and just lock that stem down. Put a bit of a collar on there to toughen it up. Just like that. Boom. All right, last step. Thanks for sticking with me. The most important step, one of them, the last strike trigger, the flashaboo, the speckled gold flashaboo. Just get in here and I get three strands or so. I think that's 2. Boom. There we go. Just grab 3. We'll put them in there. Okay, what I do is I use my rotary vise, just lay them down just a little bit to fly. Wet my fingers, kind of get those so I can control those fibers. So I'm not fighting it. Get the 3 nice and lined up, basically. Go longer than I need to because I can trim off the end right straight in the middle of the eye and lock it down with 2 solid 3, 4 wraps, 5 wraps. If you get a little bit of marabou in there, no big deal, right? So now it's straight down the body. The best way to do this so you get it not on top is to cut them off and then look on the other side. You know, lay them on the other side. We'll practice doing that without the rotary, but just to save the time, that shows us a little bit the rotary's ability to make it just a little bit easier. Get that out of there. So you're locking it right down the side with the lateral line. Then you got to come back and trim these off without hurting any of all the other good stuff you put on there. And you get that set up. That's the last step. And we're just going to make that head look good and strong. Everything looks good and flowy. So then you get your whip finish tool. I come in, this thing's real spinny, and that's good because that's how it works. You come in, get the thread under the hook, get it under the bottom, make the triangle by coming up like that. My thread comes in like this, the triangle goes on the collar, and then you can just see it wrapping and making a knot. I lay out a little thread with the bobbin. I do 4 or 5, 6 times, pop it off, up goes the hook, and there we go. I do one more. Let's come in with the hook, come in with the bottom arm, twist around with the thing, around the marabou there, and I make a thread, lay it down on that thread, have the triangle, wrap. Whoops. Sometimes you get it in the hook, pull it back out, boom. I always push with my hand to tighten it. There we go. It's the OG Fish Finder Jig 1/8 on the deep V from Northland. Thanks for watching today. I hope you enjoyed. If you tie this fly or anyone or this jig or any of the ones that I show you, please let me know. Send me a picture. Thanks for watching. See you next time.